You're about to kiss me, aren't you? A sci-fi tale of alien-human connection. Adam Walker jolted awake, his chest heavy, a strange weight pressing down on him. The soft rays of morning sunlight filtered through the curtains, illuminating a sight so bizarre it made him question if he was still dreaming. Lying on top of him was a figure with slender limbs, smooth lavender skin that shimmered faintly in the light, and large, otherworldly eyes that blinked open in surprise. It was Mia Varen, the alien housekeeper he had hired just days ago through an intergalactic domestic agency. To make matters worse or perhaps better, depending on how one looked at it, she was entirely unclothed, save for the blanket loosely draped across her. "What the hell is going on?" Adam blurted, his voice raspy from sleep, his heart racing. Mia sat up gracefully, her expression calm yet tinged with what appeared to be mild embarrassment. Her large blue eyes studied him intently before she finally spoke, her voice melodic yet measured. "Good morning, Mr. Walker. I must sincerely apologize for startling you. This was entirely my fault. Allow me to explain." Adam gawked, clutching the blanket tightly around himself. "You're lying on top of me. Explain that." Mia tilted her head slightly, her crest-like hairless head shimmering faintly. "My species, the Zeyari, share body heat as a form of communal sleeping. It is an instinct deeply ingrained in our biology. When I saw you sleeping, my natural impulses simply took over. I didn't think humans would find this." She paused, searching for the right word. "Unusual." "Unusual?" Adam laughed, though it was more out of disbelief than humor. "Yeah, very unusual. On Earth, this kind of thing usually means something very different." Mia blinked, her large eyes widening as the realization dawned on her. "Oh," she said, her tone suddenly curious. "You mean human mating customs?" She pressed her lips together in what Adam could only assume was an attempt to stifle laughter. "How fascinating. I assure you, this was purely for warmth." Adam ran a hand through his messy brown hair, his mind racing to process the surreal situation. "Look, we need some ground rules. Rule number 1, no one sleeps on anyone else in this house. Ever. Got it?" "Understood," Mia replied with a nod, her expression almost too serious. "I will remember this rule." "And another thing," Adam added, his voice firm as he glanced at her still unclothed form. "Clothing is mandatory at all times. No exceptions." Mia glanced down at herself, then stood effortlessly, her movements fluid and oddly elegant. She retrieved her neatly folded uniform from a nearby chair and began dressing without any sense of urgency. "I understand, Mr. Walker, and once again, I apologize if this caused you discomfort." Adam exhaled, feeling the tension begin to dissipate, though the absurdity of the situation still lingered. "Just call me Adam, okay? After this, I think we're past formalities." Mia smiled faintly, a subtle curve of her lips that made her alien features surprisingly human-like. "Very well, Adam. I hope this won't create any awkwardness between us moving forward." "No more awkward than waking up to find my alien housekeeper using me as a body pillow," Adam muttered, shaking his head. "This is going to take some getting used to." As Mia exited the room, now fully dressed in her sleek uniform, Adam sank back onto the bed and stared at the ceiling. The warmth where she had been lying still lingered on his skin. "What have I gotten myself into?" He muttered to no one in particular. The next few days tested Adam Walker's patience and his ability to adapt. He hadn't anticipated how challenging it would be to live with someone who quite literally came from another world. Mia Varen was efficient, meticulous, and undeniably curious about Earth and its customs, but her Zeyari instincts often clashed with human norms. Take breakfast, for instance. Adam walked into the kitchen one morning, still rubbing the sleep from his eyes, only to find Mia standing in front of the stove, her lavender skin glowing faintly under the warm light. She was wearing her uniform, thankfully, but the scene was far from ordinary. The air was filled with the unmistakable scent of burnt toast, and Mia held a spatula in one hand while inspecting what looked like an overly fried egg with scientific precision. "Mia," Adam began, hesitating as he observed the chaotic state of the kitchen. "What are you doing?" Her eyes lit up as she turned to face him, holding up a plate with what could generously be described as an experimental version of breakfast. "Good morning, Adam. I took the liberty of preparing your first meal of the day. Humans call it breakfast, correct?" Adam stared at the plate. The eggs were charred, the toast was barely recognizable, and the bacon. He didn't even want to guess what had happened there. "I appreciate the effort," he said cautiously, "but maybe cooking isn't your thing." Mia's crest rippled slightly, a Zeyari expression Adam was beginning to recognize as mild embarrassment. "My species places great emphasis on learning through experience," she explained. "I studied several human recipes and assumed they would be straightforward. It seems I underestimated the complexity of your food preparation methods." Adam sighed and grabbed a fresh pan. "All right, step aside. Let me show you how it's done." To her credit, Mia was an attentive student. She stood silently as Adam demonstrated the art of flipping pancakes, her large blue eyes following every movement with intense focus. When he handed her a spatula, she hesitated for a moment before mimicking his actions with surprising precision. "I must admit," Mia said as she expertly flipped a pancake, her tone thoughtful, "human cuisine requires more nuance than I expected. On Zeyari, most of our sustenance is synthesized for efficiency." "Efficiency is great," Adam replied, "but there's something special about putting in the effort. It makes the food taste better." Mia tilted her head, her crest rippling again in what Adam guessed was curiosity. "Fascinating. Does this principle apply to all human activities or just food?" "It's a human thing," Adam said with a shrug, sliding a stack of golden pancakes onto a plate. "We like the process as much as the result. Sometimes it's about the journey, not just the destination." As they sat down to eat, Adam noticed how Mia observed every detail, the way he poured syrup, how he held his fork, even the expression on his face when he took his first bite. It was as if she were cataloging every nuance for future reference. "This is quite enjoyable," Mia remarked after taking her first cautious bite of pancake. "The balance of sweetness and texture is remarkable." Adam couldn't help but chuckle. "Glad you think so. Just don't burn the kitchen down next time." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "Understood." Later that day, Adam found himself faced with another of Mia's learning experiences. He had spent the morning in his home office working on a project, only to be interrupted by Mia walking in unannounced, holding a stack of his neatly folded clothes. "Adam," she began, her tone as neutral as always, "I noticed your wardrobe organization was inefficient. I've rearranged it according to Zeyari optimization standards." Adam looked up from his desk, already bracing himself. "You did what now?" Mia stepped closer, setting the stack of clothes on his desk. "Zeyari systems prioritize accessibility and spatial economy. Your previous arrangement wasted significant energy." Adam stood and walked to his closet, opening it to find that all his clothes were now sorted by color, fabric type, and an apparent algorithm he couldn't even begin to decipher. "Mia," he said, pinching the bridge of his nose, "humans have a system too. It's called organized chaos. I knew where everything was." "I see," Mia replied, her crest rippling in what Adam could only describe as professional pride. "Perhaps this will encourage you to adopt a more efficient approach." "It's not about efficiency," Adam countered, though he couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation. "It's about personal preference." She tilted her head again, her gaze unyielding. "Another human principle?" "Something like that," Adam said, shaking his head. "All right, new rule. No reorganizing my stuff without asking first." "Understood," Mia replied with a slight bow, "though I must note that your previous system was suboptimal." "Noted," Adam said, rolling his eyes as he returned to his desk. "And for the record, knocking before entering my office is also a thing." By the end of the week, Adam began to see a pattern. For every moment of exasperation Mia caused, there was an equal measure of genuine fascination. Her relentless curiosity and earnest attempts to understand human culture were both endearing and exhausting. Despite their differences, Adam couldn't deny that having Mia around was interesting. She brought a sense of unpredictability to his otherwise routine life, and though he'd never admit it out loud, he found himself looking forward to their interactions. As he sat on the couch that evening, watching Mia intently study the concept of reality TV with a mixture of confusion and amusement, Adam realized something unexpected. This alien housekeeper might just be the best thing that ever happened to him. One evening, Adam returned home after a long day at work, only to find Mia standing in the middle of the living room with her arms crossed, studying a large holographic display that seemed to hover in midair. The display was filled with complex, glowing symbols that looked like a cross between mathematical equations and intricate calligraphy. "What's all this?" Adam asked, dropping his bag by the door and loosening his tie. He was already bracing himself for another one of Mia's cultural experiments. Mia turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "I've been reviewing human mating rituals." Adam froze, one foot still halfway out of his shoe. "I'm sorry." "You've been reviewing what?" "Mating rituals," Mia repeated calmly, as if she were discussing the weather. "Your cultural database refers to them as dating. I find the process fascinating. It seems unnecessarily complex compared to Zeyari customs." Adam groaned, tossing his jacket over a chair. "Why do I feel like I'm not going to like where this is going?" Mia ignored his comment, gesturing to the holographic display. "Take this, for example. The concept of playing hard to get. It suggests that humans deliberately obscure their interest in a potential partner to create a sense of challenge. Is this accurate?" Adam rubbed the back of his neck, feeling a mixture of amusement and embarrassment. "I mean, yeah, some people do that. But not everyone." "How inefficient," Mia remarked, her crest rippling faintly. "Zeyari courtship is far more direct. If we feel a connection, we acknowledge it openly and allow it to develop naturally." "Sounds a lot simpler," Adam muttered, sinking into the couch. "But humans aren't exactly great at being straightforward." Mia stepped closer, her large blue eyes fixed on him with unsettling intensity. "And what about you, Adam? Are you straightforward?" Adam coughed, suddenly feeling the temperature in the room rise. "I try to be," he said carefully. "Why?" Mia tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "Because I've observed that you often avoid direct communication, particularly when you're uncomfortable." "Is this about the time you reorganized my closet?" Adam asked, trying to steer the conversation away from whatever this was. "No," Mia replied, her tone firm. "This is about you, Adam Walker, and the fact that your physiological responses suggest you're attracted to me." Adam stared at her, utterly speechless. His mind raced for something to say, but all he could manage was, "That's not something you just say out loud." "Why not?" Mia asked, her crest rippling in what he now recognized as curiosity. "It's the truth. Humans value honesty, don't they?" "Yeah, but..." Adam paused, running a hand through his hair. "There's a time and a place for it, Mia, and it's not this." Mia took a step back, her gaze softening slightly. "I see. My apologies if I've overstepped. I simply thought it would be more efficient to address the matter directly." "It's not about efficiency," Adam muttered, leaning back against the couch. "It's about, I don't know, timing, context." Mia nodded slowly, though her expression remained thoughtful. "I understand. In that case, I will wait for a more appropriate moment to discuss this further." "Great," Adam said, though he wasn't entirely sure how he felt about that. Over the next few days, Adam found himself increasingly aware of Mia's presence. She was always there, moving gracefully through the house, her curiosity about human culture as relentless as ever. But now, every glance, every accidental touch, carried a weight that hadn't been there before. One evening, as they sat on the back patio watching the sunset, Mia turned to him with a rare look of vulnerability. "Adam," she began, her voice softer than usual, "may I ask you something personal?" "Of course," Adam replied, though he wasn't sure he was ready for whatever she was about to say. "Do you regret hiring me?" she asked, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "I've caused you a great deal of inconvenience." Adam blinked, taken aback. "Mia, where is this coming from? It's just—" She hesitated, her crest rippling faintly. "I've been reflecting on our interactions, and I've realized that I've disrupted your life in ways I didn't anticipate. I fear I've overstepped my boundaries." Adam leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees as he considered his response. "Mia, you've definitely shaken things up around here, but regret? No. If anything, you've made my life a lot more interesting." "Interesting?" Mia repeated, her tone tinged with doubt. "In a good way," Adam clarified. "You've got this way of making me see things differently. And yeah, sometimes it drives me crazy, but it's also kind of amazing." Mia turned to look at him, her blue eyes wide and unblinking. "Amazing?" Adam chuckled, shaking his head. "Don't read too much into it, all right? I'm just saying you're not as much of a pain as you think you are." Mia's lips curved into a faint smile, and for the first time since they'd met, Adam thought he saw something almost human in her expression. "Thank you, Adam. That means more to me than I can express." For a moment, they sat in silence, the fading light casting a golden glow over them. And though neither of them said it out loud, both knew something unspoken had shifted between them. A week after their quiet conversation on the patio, Adam's life took an unexpected turn again. He was in his office, typing away at his computer, when Mia entered, her expression unusually serious. "Adam," she said, her melodic voice breaking the silence, "I need to inform you of an important development." Adam glanced up, already wary. "Should I be sitting down for this?" "That may be wise," Mia replied, clasping her hands together. "My family has contacted me. They are aware of my living situation here on Earth." Adam leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "And? What does that mean for us?" "It means they are on their way to visit," Mia said, her tone measured. "They wish to meet you and evaluate the suitability of my current environment." "Evaluate? That sounds ominous." Adam frowned. Why would they need to evaluate anything? Mia hesitated, her crest rippling faintly in what Adam now recognized as a sign of unease. In Zeyari culture, familial approval is a critical component of any significant bond. My parents may perceive our relationship as more than professional. Adam blinked. "Wait, what relationship?" "I mean, we're not exactly." "Adam," Mia interrupted, her gaze unwavering. "To my family, the fact that I have chosen to reside here and formed an emotional bond with you is significant. They will interpret it as a precursor to a deeper connection." Adam rubbed his temples, trying to process the information. "So let me get this straight. Your family thinks we're dating?" "Essentially, yes," Mia replied. "And now they're coming here to what? Judge me?" "Not judge," Mia corrected. "Assess." In Zeyari culture, relationships are viewed as a union of not just two individuals, but their respective families. My parents will want to ensure that you are worthy of such a bond. Adam groaned, slumping back in his chair. This just keeps getting better. By the time Mia's family arrived, Adam had convinced himself that things couldn't possibly get worse. He was wrong. The shimmering silver ship descended into the field behind his house with a low hum, its sleek, organic design radiating an otherworldly elegance. As the ramp extended, two figures emerged. A tall, regal male with lavender skin and an imposing presence, and a graceful female whose iridescent crest glowed faintly in the afternoon light. "Adam Walker," the male said, his deep voice resonating with authority. "I am Mia Varen, High Counselor of Veliona. This is my partner, Mia Varen." Adam stepped forward, trying his best to appear composed. It's, nice to meet you both. Iron's piercing blue gaze swept over Adam, assessing him with an intensity that made him feel like a specimen under a microscope. My daughter speaks highly of you, he said. However, words are not enough. Actions must speak louder. Adam shot a glance at Mia, who was standing nearby, her expression carefully neutral. What does he mean by that? He whispered. Mia gave him a small, apologetic smile. It's a Zeyari custom. My parents will expect you to participate in a series of trials to demonstrate your character and adaptability. Trials? Adam hissed, his voice rising slightly. You didn't think to mention this earlier? There wasn't an ideal moment, Mia replied, her tone diplomatic. The first trial was relatively straightforward, or so Adam was told. It involved preparing a traditional Zeyari dish under the watchful eyes of Iran and Celine. Mia offered to assist, but Adam insisted on doing it himself, determined to prove he was up to the challenge. Unfortunately, Zeyari cooking was far more complicated than anything Adam had encountered before. The ingredients included glowing, gelatinous orbs that shifted color when heated, and the cooking process required precise timing and coordination. By the end of the trial, Adam was covered in a strange, sticky residue, but the dish was complete. When Iran tasted it, his expression remained unreadable, though Celine's faint nod of approval gave Adam a glimmer of hope. You have potential, Iran said, setting the plate down. But the next trial will test your endurance. Adam groaned. Of course it will. The second trial was a physical challenge held in the meadow behind Adam's house. It involved navigating an obstacle course that combined Zeyari technology and earth terrain. Adam stumbled more times than he cared to admit, but he pushed through, fueled by sheer determination and the occasional encouraging glance from Mia. When he finally crossed the finish line, gasping for breath, Iran offered him a rare smile. You are persistent, if nothing else. Adam wiped the sweat from his brow. I'll take that as a compliment. The final trial, however, was the most daunting. It required Adam to engage in a Zeyari bonding ritual with Mia, a deeply intimate ceremony designed to test their emotional and empathic connection. The ritual involved standing in a circle of glowing symbols while holding hands, their energies meant to align in perfect harmony. As the ceremony began, Adam felt a strange warmth emanating from Mia's hands. Her blue eyes locked onto his, and for a moment, the world around them faded away. He could feel her emotions, her curiosity, her determination, and most unexpectedly, her affection for him. Adam, Mia said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. You're doing well. Just focus on me. I'm trying, Adam replied, his heart pounding. But this is a lot. You're stronger than you think, Mia said, her tone steady. I've always believed that. Her words sent a surge of warmth through Adam, and he tightened his grip on her hands. The glowing symbols around them flared brighter, and Iran's voice rang out. The bond is complete. Adam blinked, realizing the ritual was over. He glanced at Mia, who was really smiling for the first time since he'd met her. You've impressed us, Celine said, her tone approving. Welcome to our family, Adam Walker. Adam exhaled a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Thanks, I think. That evening, as the Varens prepared to depart, Iran pulled Adam aside. You've proven yourself today, but remember this. A bond with a Zeyari is not to be taken lightly. Protect her, honor her, and you will have our support. Adam nodded, his gaze drifting to Mia, who was speaking with her mother. I'll do my best. Iran clapped him on the shoulder. See that you do. As the ship ascended into the sky, Adam and Mia stood side by side, watching it disappear into the stars. For a moment, neither of them spoke. So, Adam said finally, breaking the silence. That was intense. Mia turned to him, her expression soft. You handled it well. Thanks, Adam replied, his tone teasing. But next time, maybe give me a heads up? Mia's lips curved into a faint smile. "I'll consider it." They stood there a moment longer, the tension between them replaced by something warmer, something unspoken but deeply understood. The days following the trials were unusually quiet. Adam found himself reflecting on everything that had transpired, the trials, the strange customs of the Zeyari, and most of all, the growing connection between him and Mia. He had never imagined his life could take such an unexpected turn, but here he was, standing at the crossroads of two worlds. Late one evening, Adam was sitting on the back patio, staring at the stars. The cool breeze rustled the trees, and the faint hum of distant crickets filled the air. He barely noticed Mia approach until she sat down beside him, her presence as calm and steady as always. "You've been quiet today," Mia observed, her voice soft. "Is something troubling you?" Adam shook his head, letting out a small laugh. "Just thinking. A lot's happened, you know. Sometimes it feels like my life turned upside down the moment you walked into it." Mia tilted her head, her crest rippling faintly in what Adam now recognized as thoughtfulness. "Do you regret it?" He turned to her, meeting her gaze. Her blue eyes seemed to glow faintly in the starlight, and for a moment he found himself at a loss for words. "No," he said finally, "I don't regret it. Not even for a second." Mia's lips curved into a faint smile. "Neither do I." For a moment they sat in silence, the stars above them twinkling like distant beacons. Then Mia spoke again, her tone more tentative than Adam had ever heard it. "Adam, there's something I need to tell you." "What is it?" he asked, turning to face her fully. She hesitated, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "The bond we formed during the ritual, it's permanent. Among my people, it signifies a connection that cannot be undone. It means we are partners in every sense of the word." Adam blinked, processing her words. "You mean like marriage?" "Not exactly," Mia said, her voice steady. "It's deeper than that. It means that our lives, our energies, are intertwined. I feel what you feel, just as you can sense my emotions. It's a commitment, one that my people take very seriously." Adam stared at her, his mind racing. He had known that the ritual was significant, but he hadn't realized just how much it would change things. And yet, as he looked at Mia, this strange, brilliant, and utterly unique being who had somehow become the most important person in his life, he realized he didn't feel fear or hesitation. He felt peace. "I think I'm okay with that," he said, his voice quiet but sure. Mia's eyes widened slightly. "You are?" "V." Adam nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to take in, but I've never felt this way about anyone before. You make me see the world differently, Mia. You make me better." Mia's crest rippled, and for the first time, Adam thought he saw something like tears glistening in her eyes. "Adam, you don't know how much that means to me." He reached out, taking her hand in his. "We'll figure this out together, one step at a time." She nodded, her fingers tightening around his. Together. In the weeks that followed, Adam and Mia began to settle into their new life. The bond they shared deepened with each passing day, and while there were still challenges, adjusting to cultural differences, navigating the complexities of human and Zeyari traditions, they faced them as a team. One evening, as they prepared dinner together in the kitchen, Mia paused and looked at Adam. "You know," she said, her tone teasing, "for a human, you're surprisingly adaptable." Adam laughed, shaking his head. "And for an alien, you're surprisingly stubborn." She smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Perhaps we're not so different after all." Months later, Adam found himself standing in a small clearing in the woods behind his house, gazing up at the night sky. Beside him, Mia held his hand, her crest glowing faintly in the darkness. They had come here to watch a meteor shower, an event that Mia insisted had a special significance for the Zeyari. "Do you ever think about how this all started?" Adam asked, his voice low. "You showing up out of nowhere, flipping my whole world upside down? Mia chuckled softly. It seems like a lifetime ago, but yes, I remember. Adam turned to her, his gaze soft. I thought my life was pretty ordinary before you came along, but now I can't imagine it without you. Mia's eyes met his, and for a moment, there was no need for words. The bond they shared, the connection that transcended words and worlds, spoke louder than anything either of them could say. As the first meteor streaked across the sky, Mia leaned her head against Adam's shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" he asked. "For showing me that two completely different worlds can become one." Adam smiled, his hand tightening around hers. "I think we both did that." Together, they watched the sky light up with trails of silver and gold, a symbol of something far greater than themselves. It was a reminder that even in the vastness of the universe, connection, true, unbreakable connection, was possible. And as they stood there, bound by love and shared destiny, they knew they were no longer just two individuals from different worlds. They were partners, equals, and above all, a family.